Kim Taemin stood on the observation deck of the main building in New Busan. He watched the purple sunrise paint the sky above their small human colony. The twin suns of Kepler 442c always made beautiful mornings, but today felt different. Something was coming. 53 years ago, his grandfather had been part of the first group of Korean settlers to land on this distant planet. They came here to build a new life, far from Earth's crowded cities and polluted air. The journey took many years, and when they arrived, Earth seemed like a distant dream. Then the great solar storm of 2157 happened. All communication with Earth stopped. Radio signals died. Supply ships never came. The 300 settlers were completely alone on an alien world, with only the supplies they had brought and their own skills to survive. Many people would have given up. Many would have died. But humans were stubborn creatures, and these Korean settlers were especially tough. They had survived wars, famines, and disasters on Earth. They would not let an alien planet defeat them. Taemin's grandfather, Lee Dae-ho, had been their leader back then. He taught the colonists to work together, to learn from their mistakes, and to never stop trying new things. "We are not visitors here," he used to say. "This is our home now. We must make it work." And they did make it work, in ways that surprised even themselves. The colony's chief engineer, Choi Min-ho, walked up to join Taemin on the deck. Min-ho was younger than Taemin, but his hands were already rough from years of building and fixing things. He carried a tablet that showed the morning sensor readings. "The energy crystals are acting strange again," Min-ho said. He pointed toward the purple mountains in the distance. "The formations are giving off more power than usual." "Much more," Taemin nodded. The crystals were one of their greatest discoveries. When the first settlers arrived, they found these beautiful purple rocks scattered across the planet. At first they seemed like just pretty stones. But Dr. Song Hye-ri's grandmother had been a scientist, and she noticed something special about them. The crystals could store and give off energy, like batteries, but they were much better than any battery humans had ever made. They could power their entire colony for months without running out. Even better, the crystals seemed to grow stronger when they were connected to each other, like they were talking to each other somehow. Song Hye-ri herself now studied the planet's plants and animals. She had learned that almost everything on this world was connected in ways that Earth scientists never imagined. The crystals, the plants, even the small flying creatures that looked like purple butterflies, they all worked together like parts of one giant living machine. "Have you told Park So-jin about the crystal readings?" Taemin asked. Park So-jin was their defense chief. She had been a soldier on Earth before joining the colony, and she never forgot that unknown dangers might be waiting in space. While others focused on farming and building, So-jin always kept watch for threats from above. "She's already checking the long-range sensors," Min-ho replied. "But you know how she is. She sees danger in everything." Taemin smiled. So-jin's caution had saved them many times. When strange weather patterns threatened their crops, she had noticed the signs first. When equipment started failing in unusual ways, she found the problems before they became disasters. If So-jin was worried about something, it was worth paying attention. The two men walked through the colony's main street. New Busan was not a large town. Only about 800 people lived there now, including children born on this world. But it was a good place to live. The buildings were made from local materials, designed to blend with the purple landscape. Gardens grew between the houses, filled with both earth plants and local ones that had learned to live together. Children played in the streets, their laughter mixing with the sounds of people working. Some were pure Korean, descended from the original settlers. Others were mixed, their parents having come from the few other small settlements scattered across the planet. All of them were citizens of New Busan, children of two worlds. At the community center, they found Song Hye-ri working in her laboratory. She was looking at samples under a microscope, her dark hair tied back as she focused on her work. On the screen beside her, colorful charts showed the connections between different life forms on their planet. "The ecosystem is changing," she said without looking up. "Something is making all the life forms more active. The butterflies are flying in new patterns. The crystal trees are growing faster. Even the soil bacteria are working differently. Could it be connected to the crystal energy spikes?" Min-ho asked. Hye-ri finally looked up from her microscope. Her eyes were bright with excitement and worry. "I think the whole planet is preparing for something, like it knows something is coming." Before anyone could respond, the building's communication system made a loud beeping sound. Park So-jin's voice came through the speakers, calm but serious. All senior staff to the command center immediately. We have visitors. The three friends looked at each other, then rushed toward the command center. The building was in the center of town, its tall communication tower reaching toward the purple sky. Inside, banks of computers and sensors kept watch over their world and the space around it. So-jin was standing in front of the main display screen. Her short hair was neat as always, and her military uniform was clean and pressed. But her face showed the same expression she wore when serious trouble was coming. "Show them what we found," she said to Lee Sang-min. "They're communications expert." Sang-min's fingers moved quickly over his keyboard. The main screen changed to show a map of their solar system. 3 groups of red dots were moving toward their planet, coming from different directions. "Long-range sensors picked them up an hour ago," Sang-min explained. "They're still far away, but they're definitely heading here. The computer says they'll arrive in about 6 days. Ships?" Taemin asked, though he already knew the answer. "Ships," So-jin confirmed. "Not human ships. The designs are completely different from anything Earth ever built. 3 separate fleets, each one using different technology." The room became quiet. For over 50 years, the humans of New Busan had been alone in space. They had always wondered if other intelligent life existed, but wondering and knowing were very different things. "How many ships?" asked Dr. Han Soo-bin, the colony's psychologist who had just arrived. 12 in the first group. 8 in the second. 15 in the third, Sang-min replied. "They're not trying to hide. In fact, they seem to be sending signals to each other, like they're coordinating their arrival." Yoon Ji-woo, their best negotiator, entered the command center with several other colony leaders. Her calm voice carried the authority that had helped settle many disputes in New Busan. "Are they sending any messages to us?" she asked. "Not yet," Sang-min said. "But they know we're here. Some of their signals are definitely scanning our planet." Taemin looked around the room at the faces of his friends and colleagues. These people had built a thriving community on an alien world using nothing but human determination and creativity. They had solved problems that should have been impossible to solve. They had made a home where no home should have existed. But now they faced something completely new. They were about to meet other intelligent species for the first time in human history. The question was, were these aliens coming as friends, enemies, or something else entirely? "We have 6 days to prepare," Taemin said finally. 6 days to decide how humanity will introduce itself to the galaxy. Outside the command center, the purple sky continued its daily dance of colors. The crystal formations hummed with growing energy, and somewhere in the peaceful streets of New Busan, children played games, not knowing that their small colony was about to become the most important place in human history. The age of isolation was ending. The age of contact was about to begin. 6 days passed quickly in New Busan. The colonists worked day and night to prepare for their visitors. Park So-jin organized defense teams, though no one knew if they would be needed. Song Hee-ri studied her data about the planet's ecosystem, looking for anything that might help them understand the aliens. Choi Min-ho checked and double-checked all their technology, making sure everything worked perfectly. Ambassador Yoon Ji-woo spent those days planning how to greet 3 different alien species at the same time. It was not an easy task. Humans had dreamed about meeting aliens for hundreds of years, but they had never imagined it would happen like this. On the morning of the 6th day, the ships arrived. The first fleet appeared in the sky like silver insects. Their ships had long, thin bodies with transparent sections that glowed with soft light. They moved in perfect formation, never breaking their pattern even as they entered the planet's atmosphere. The second fleet looked completely different. Their ships seemed to be made of pure energy, glowing and shifting like colorful clouds. They had no solid shape that humans could understand, but they moved with clear purpose and intelligence. The third fleet was the most frightening. Their ships were dark and angular like weapons floating in space. They came down from orbit in a tight group, their black hulls reflecting no light at all. Lee Sang-min watched his communication equipment as signals began coming from all 3 fleets. His computers worked frantically to translate the alien languages, using patterns and mathematics to find meaning in the strange sounds. "The first fleet calls themselves Vielthians," he announced to the command center. "They say they come for trade and friendship. The second fleet, It's hard to translate. They call themselves Nixari. They want to understand us. The third fleet are called Korthak. They say they come to ensure peace and safety. 3 different species, 3 different reasons for being here. Yoonji Woo said thoughtfully. This is either very good luck or very bad luck. The aliens chose a large field outside New Busan for their meeting. Each species landed their ships in a different area, keeping distance between them. The humans could see that even the aliens were being careful with each other. Yoonji Woo led the human delegation. With her came Jang Woo-sung, a language expert who had spent the last 6 days learning everything he could about alien communication. Bae Young-mi, who understood different cultures, walked beside them. Kwon Jin-ae, the security chief, followed closely, her eyes watching everything for signs of danger. The Velthian representative met them first. It was tall and thin, with 4 arms and large black eyes. Its skin looked like polished silver, and it moved with quick, precise motions. When it spoke, the words sounded like music mixed with the buzzing of insects. I am Hive Speaker Zintar, the alien said through a translation device. I speak for the Velthian Trade Collective. We have watched your growth with great interest. Watched our growth? Yoonji Woo asked carefully. Your species adapts very quickly, Zintar replied. In 50 years you have learned to use this planet's resources in ways we did not expect. This interests us greatly. The way the alien said interests us made Kwon Jin-ae feel uncomfortable. She noticed that Zintar's eyes kept looking toward the colony's buildings, studying their construction and technology. The Nexari representative was even stranger to meet. It had no solid body at all, just flowing energy that took roughly humanoid shape. When it spoke, the voice seemed to come from the air itself. I am the entity you may call Flux Prime, it said. We are the Nexari consciousness. We seek to understand the nature of individual awareness and emotional complexity. You want to study our minds? Bae Young-mi asked. Your species exhibits patterns of thought we have never encountered, Flux Prime replied. You make decisions based on feelings rather than logic. You form bonds that override survival instincts. This is fascinating and disturbing. The way the energy being said disturbing sent chills through the human delegation. The Korthak representative was the most intimidating of all. War Chief Gromax stood nearly 3 meters tall with thick scaled skin and sharp teeth. His voice was deep and rough like rocks grinding together. I am Gromax of the Korthak Defense Force, he announced. We maintain order in this sector of space. Your presence here must be evaluated for potential threats to galactic stability. Threats? Yoonji Woo asked. We're just farmers and engineers trying to build a peaceful life. Gromax's yellow eyes stared at her for a long moment. Peaceful species do not adapt so rapidly to hostile environments. Peaceful species do not solve impossible problems with such ease. Over the following days, the 3 alien delegations stayed near New Busan. They said they wanted to learn about human culture and technology. The humans tried to be good hosts, showing their visitors around the colony and explaining how they had built their society. But Jang Woo-sung noticed something strange. He had always been good with languages, and he was quickly learning to understand alien speech patterns. What he heard in their private conversations worried him. The Velthians talked constantly about human adaptation rates and technological integration speeds. They seemed amazed and frightened by how quickly humans learned to use new tools and ideas. The Nexari discussed human emotional irrationality and chaos patterns they could not understand, why humans would risk their lives to save friends, or why they would keep trying to solve problems. Even when logic said it was impossible, the Korthak focused on human unpredictability and tactical innovation. They were disturbed by the way humans approached problems from unexpected angles, finding solutions that no military manual could predict. Dr. Han Soo-bin, the colony's psychologist, spent time observing the aliens as they interacted with humans. What she saw troubled her greatly. They're afraid of us, she told Taimin privately. All 3 species. They're trying to hide it. But I can see the signs. They're studying us like we're dangerous animals. Dangerous? We're just trying to survive and build a good life. That's exactly what scares them, Soo-bin replied. Watch how they react when our people solve problems. Yesterday, Choi Min-ho fixed a broken Velthian tool in 10 minutes. It had been broken for months and their best engineers couldn't repair it. Zintar looked terrified. Indeed, the aliens seemed constantly surprised by human abilities. When Song Hyeri explained how the colonists had learned to work with the planet's ecosystem, Flux Prime's energy form flickered with what looked like alarm. When Park Seo-jin demonstrated the colony's defense systems, Gromax's scaled face showed something that might have been respect mixed with fear. The most disturbing incident happened on the fourth day of contact. A group of human children were playing near the alien ships, curious about their visitors. One child, a girl named Kim Nari, approached a complex Velthian device that had stopped working. The device was some kind of atmospheric processor designed to analyze air composition. The Velthian technicians had been trying to fix it for hours, using sophisticated tools and following precise procedures. Nari looked at the device for a few minutes, then picked up a small stone and tapped it against a specific part of the machine. The device immediately began working again. The Velthian technicians stared in shock. They had never seen anything like it. A human child had solved their problem using nothing but intuition and a rock. Xintar approached Dr. Han Subin later that day. "How did the young one know what to do?" the alien asked. "She didn't know," Subin replied honestly. "She just tried something that seemed right to her. But that is impossible. The repair required understanding of 17 different systems and their interactions. Maybe for your people," Subin said. "Humans often solve problems without completely understanding them. We call it intuition or luck or just trying things until something works." Xintar's large black eyes stared at her for a long time. "Your species does not follow logical development patterns," the alien said finally. "This is, concerning." That evening, Quan Jinne was doing her security rounds when she intercepted a communication between the three alien fleets. Her translation equipment was not perfect, but she understood enough to be worried. The aliens were talking about humans like they were a dangerous plague that might spread across the galaxy. They used words that translated as chaos bringers and pattern breakers. They discussed something called the old warnings and previous incidents. Most frightening of all, they were debating whether humans should be contained or managed before they became a larger threat. Quan Jinne immediately reported to Taimin and the other leaders. As they gathered in the command center, the truth became clear. Humanity's first contact with alien civilization was not going as anyone had hoped. The aliens had not come to welcome humans into a galactic community. They had come to decide whether humanity was too dangerous to be allowed to grow and spread among the stars. And based on what they had seen in New Busan, their answer was becoming increasingly clear. Far from New Busan, in a space station that orbited between three stars, the Galactic Concordat held an emergency session. The massive chamber could hold representatives from 100 different species. But today only the most important leaders were present. Archon Velthara of the Velthians stood at the center of the chamber. Her forearms moved in precise patterns as she spoke, a sign of deep concern among her people. Her silver skin reflected the lights of the chamber as she addressed the assembly. "The human colony exhibits unprecedented adaptation rates," she reported. "In 53 years of isolation, they have developed technologies that surpass our own in several areas. They have integrated with an alien ecosystem in ways our best scientists cannot explain." Supreme Nexus of the Nexari floated beside her, its energy form pulsing with different colors to indicate its emotional state. The pattern showed confusion and fear. "The humans demonstrate cognitive chaos that defies all models of intelligent behavior," the Nexus stated. "They make decisions based on emotions rather than logic. They form social bonds that override survival instincts. Most disturbing, they solve problems by trying impossible solutions until something works." High Commander Braxtal of the Korthak stepped forward. His massive form dominated the space around him, and his yellow eyes glowed with military intensity. "Every species in the galaxy follows predictable patterns of development," he growled. "Technology advances in logical steps. Military tactics follow established principles. Political structures evolve according to known rules. Humans break every pattern." In the observation galleries, representatives from dozens of other species listened with growing alarm. The Zephyrins, who looked like tall blue crystals, vibrated with nervous energy. The Malari, resembling giant sea creatures, changed colors rapidly to show their distress. Even the ancient ethereals, beings of pure thought, seemed disturbed by what they were hearing. Xenoarchaeologist Zefkor of the Academic Guild floated to the speaking platform. His species had no solid body, existing as organized energy fields that maintained vast libraries of galactic history. The Concordat must understand the historical significance of what we face, Zevkor announced. His voice echoed strangely, as if coming from everywhere at once. 3 times in galactic history, we have encountered species that exhibited chaotic development patterns similar to humanity. The chamber became completely silent. Even species that communicated through sound, light, or electromagnetic fields stopped their conversations. The first chaos bringers appeared 47,000 years ago, Zevkor continued. They called themselves the Vorthai. Like humans, they adapted rapidly to new environments and solved problems through intuitive leaps rather than logical analysis. Within 2,000 years, they had destabilized 17 established civilizations and caused 3 major wars. Images appeared in the air above the assembly, showing the ruins of ancient space stations and dead worlds where the Vorthai conflicts had taken place. The second incident occurred 28,000 years ago. The Nexus spawn exhibited similar patterns of unpredictable growth and technological innovation. They caused the collapse of the Second Galactic Empire and the loss of countless worlds to civil war. More, images showed the devastation left by the Nexus spawn's influence on galactic civilization. The third Chaos Bringers emerged 14,000 years ago. The Driftmakers demonstrated the same ability to form emotional bonds that overrode logical behavior. Their influence led to the Great Fragmentation, when the unified galactic government broke apart into thousands of competing factions. The final set of images showed empty space where thriving civilizations had once existed. In each case, Zevkor concluded, the Chaos Bringers disappeared from the galaxy before their influence could cause complete collapse. Whether they destroyed themselves, transcended to another plane of existence, or were eliminated by other forces, we do not know. What we do know is that their chaos nearly destroyed galactic civilization 3 times. Archon Velthera's arms moved in patterns of deep worry. The humans show all the same signs: rapid adaptation, emotional decision-making, unpredictable problem-solving, and the ability to inspire chaos in other species they encounter. We observed this directly, Supreme Nexus added. Human children solved complex technical problems through intuition alone. Human adults formed immediate emotional bonds with our representatives, attempting to influence our logical decision-making processes. Most concerning, they began learning our languages and technologies at impossible speeds. High Commander Braxtal's claws extended slightly, a sign of aggressive intent among his people. The pattern is clear. Humans are the 4th Chaos Bringer species. If we allow them to spread beyond their single colony, they will destabilize the entire galaxy within a few thousand years. What do you propose? Asked Counselor Mirren of the Contemplative Order, a species that resembled floating jellyfish made of pure thought. Immediate containment, Braxtal replied without hesitation. Surround their system with monitoring stations. Prevent them from developing faster than light travel. Keep them isolated on their single world until they either evolve beyond their chaotic phase or destroy themselves. That could take millions of years, protested Speaker Gon of the Mercantile Federation. And containment operations are expensive. Less expensive than another galactic collapse, Braxtal growled. Meanwhile, back on New Busan, the humans were beginning to understand their situation. Intelligence Officer Nam Tae-hyun had been working around the clock to intercept and decode alien communications. His equipment was primitive compared to alien technology, but humans had one advantage. They approached problems differently than other species expected. Instead of trying to break the alien encryption through mathematical analysis, Tae-hyun looked for patterns in the timing and frequency of signals. He noticed that certain types of messages were always sent at specific times, suggesting routine military communications. They're positioning ships around our entire solar system, he reported to colony leader Kim Tae-min. Not just the 3 fleets we can see. There are at least 12 more groups hiding behind asteroids and small moons. Park So-jin studied the tactical display with professional interest. It's a standard containment formation. They're not planning to attack us immediately, but they're making sure we can't leave. Can't leave? Tae-min asked. They're treating us like a quarantine zone, So-jin explained. Whatever they think we are, they don't want it spreading to other worlds. Dr. Song Hye-ri looked up from her biological analysis reports. It's not just military containment. I've been studying the alien behavior patterns, and I think they're genuinely afraid of us. Not afraid we'll attack them, but afraid of what we represent, What do we represent? Asked Ambassador Yoon Ji-woo. Change, replied Dr. Han Soo-bin. They've built a stable galactic civilization that's lasted thousands of years. Everything follows predictable patterns and logical rules. Then humans come along and solve problems by trying impossible things until something works. Jang Woo-sung, who had been listening to alien communications, added his own observations. They keep using words that translate as chaos bringers and pattern breakers. They think we're some kind of force that destroys order wherever we go. Are we? Taemin asked quietly. The question hung in the air like a challenge. The humans of New Busan had spent 50 years adapting to an alien world, solving impossible problems, and building a thriving society where no society should have existed. They had turned mining equipment into farming tools, learned to communicate with alien plants, and created energy systems that worked better than anything their ancestors had imagined. To them, this was just normal human behavior. To the aliens, it was terrifying proof that humans could not be controlled or predicted. Communications expert Lee Sang-min suddenly looked up from his equipment. I'm getting a signal from the alien fleets. They want to arrange another meeting with our leadership. All three species? Yoon Ji-woo asked. Yes. And they're using formal diplomatic protocols that suggest this is not a friendly social visit. Outside the command center, the people of New Busan continued their daily lives. Children played in the streets, farmers tended their crops, and engineers worked on new projects. But above them, hidden in space, dozens of alien warships waited and watched. The galaxy had decided that humanity was too dangerous to be allowed freedom. The only question now was what the humans of New Busan would do about it. In the vast chamber of the Galactic Concordat, the debate continued. Some species argued for immediate military action. Others suggested diplomatic solutions. A few proposed scientific study to understand human behavior better, but all agreed on one fundamental point. Humanity could not be allowed to spread across the galaxy unchanged. The risk of another galactic collapse was too great. What none of the aliens understood was that humans had already begun to change the situation simply by existing. The very act of studying humanity was forcing the galaxy's species to think in new ways, to question old assumptions, and to consider possibilities they had never imagined. The chaos had already begun. The second formal meeting between humans and aliens took place in the same field outside New Busan, but the atmosphere was completely different. The aliens no longer pretended this was a friendly visit. Their ships had moved closer to the colony, and more vessels could be seen in the sky above. Security Chief Kwon Jinhye had spent the night analyzing the alien fleet positions. What she found confirmed their worst fears. 35 ships total, she reported to the Emergency Council. They have us completely surrounded. The weapon systems are powered but not actively targeting us yet. They're giving us a chance to surrender peacefully. Surrender to what? Asked colony leader Kim Taemin. To whatever they decide to do with us. Park So-jin replied grimly. Containment, relocation, or worse. Ambassador Yoon Ji-woo straightened her diplomatic uniform and checked her translation equipment one final time. Whatever they want, we'll face it as free humans. No one else gets to decide our future. The alien representatives looked different this time. Hive speaker Zintar's silver skin had a dull color that suggested stress among Valthians. Flux Prime's energy form flickered with red patterns that seemed aggressive. War Chief Gromax stood with his weapons clearly visible, no longer pretending this was a peaceful meeting. Humans of New Busan, Zintar began, the Galactic Concordat has reached a decision regarding your species. You represent a threat to galactic stability that cannot be ignored. What kind of threat? Yoon Ji-woo asked calmly. Your species exhibits chaotic development patterns, Flux Prime answered. You solve problems through impossible methods. You form emotional bonds that override logical behavior. You adapt to new situations at rates that destabilize established systems. Gromax stepped forward, his massive form casting a shadow over the human delegation. 3 times in galactic history, species like yours have caused civilization-ending wars. We will not allow a fourth occurrence. So what do you propose? Taemin asked. Immediate containment, Gromax growled. Your colony will remain on this world under galactic supervision. You will not develop faster than light travel. You will not expand beyond this solar system. In exchange, you will be protected and provided with necessary resources. You're talking about making us prisoners? Park Sojin said flatly. We are talking about protecting the galaxy from chaos, Zintar replied. Back in New Busan, the other colonists were not sitting idle while their leaders negotiated. Engineer Choi Min-ho had gathered his best technicians in the main workshop. Around them lay pieces of alien technology that had been borrowed from the visiting ships during the previous days of cultural exchange. Remember, Min-ho said quietly, we're not trying to steal their technology. We're trying to understand it well enough to protect ourselves. The human engineers worked with focused intensity. They had learned long ago that survival on an alien world required constant innovation and adaptation. Now they applied those same skills to a much more dangerous problem. Technician Park Gi-tae held up a small device that had come from the Velthian ship. This looks like a communicator, but the energy patterns are strange. It's not just sending signals, it's doing something to space itself. Subspace manipulation, suggested Lee Min-jung, who had studied theoretical physics before joining the colony. They're folding space-time to make their signals travel faster than light. Shin Yun-ju, their best pilot, examined a piece of Korthic navigation equipment. If we can understand how their ships move, maybe we can figure out how to make them not move. Meanwhile, Dr. Song Hye-ri was working with the planet's unique ecosystem. The crystal formations that powered their colony had been acting strangely since the aliens arrived, generating more energy and creating new connections between distant formations. It's like the planet knows we're in danger, she explained to her research team. The crystals are networking together in patterns we've never seen before. Dr. Lim Hae-won, a xenopsychologist who had joined the colony only 5 years earlier, was studying recordings of alien behavior. They're not just afraid of what we might do, she said. They're afraid of what we already are. Every time we solve a problem or adapt to a new situation, it challenges their understanding of how intelligence should work. At the communications center, Lee Sang-min was performing what might have been the most dangerous task of all. Using human intuition and pattern recognition, he was attempting to hack into the alien fleet's communication network. I can't break their encryption the way they would expect, he explained to intelligence officer Nam Tae-hyun, but I can look for patterns in their signal timing and frequency distribution. Humans are really good at seeing patterns that shouldn't exist. By the third day of negotiations, the alien representatives were becoming increasingly frustrated. The humans refused to accept containment, but they also weren't responding with the military aggression that might justify immediate attack. Instead, they kept asking questions that made the aliens uncomfortable. You say we're dangerous because we adapt quickly, Yoon Ji-woo said during one session. But adaptation is how species survive. Why is survival dangerous? You solve problems through emotional decision-making rather than logic, Flux Prime accused. Sometimes emotions provide information that logic misses, replied Dr. Han Subin. Fear tells us about danger. Love motivates us to protect others. Hope gives us strength to keep trying when logic says we should give up. You form bonds that override survival instincts, Zintar added. Those bonds make us stronger as a group, Park Sojin responded. A human will risk death to save a friend, which means every human can trust that others will do the same for them. That trust lets us accomplish things that individuals cannot. Gromax's yellow eyes narrowed. You are proving our point. Your behavior patterns are incompatible with galactic civilization. Or maybe, Taemin said quietly, galactic civilization has become too rigid to grow and adapt to new challenges. The words hit the alien representatives like a physical blow. In their long, stable civilization, change was seen as dangerous, growth was carefully controlled, and new ideas were examined for centuries before being accepted. The suggestion that their system might be flawed was almost unthinkable. That night, the aliens made their decision. Gromax sent a coded message to the hidden fleets. Humans refuse containment. Prepare for enforcement action. But the humans had been busy too. Lee Sang-min's patient work had finally broken into the alien communication system. The colonists now knew exactly how many ships surrounded them and what those ships were planning. 42 vessels total, Nam Tae-hyun reported. They're going to demand our surrender tomorrow. If we refuse, they'll use non-lethal weapons to disable our technology and force compliance. Non-lethal for who? Park Sojin asked grimly. For species that follow normal biological patterns, Min-ho replied. He had been studying the alien weapons data. But some of their non-lethal systems could kill humans quite easily. Colony leader Kim Tae-min looked around the room at his friends and colleagues. These people had built a thriving civilization on an impossible world. They had solved problems that should have destroyed them. They had adapted to challenges that would have broken other species. Now they faced their greatest challenge yet. "What are our options?" he asked. "Fight and probably lose," Sojin said honestly. "Surrender and definitely lose our freedom, or, prompted Yoon Ji-woo. Park Sojin smiled grimly. "Or we prove to them that their fears about humans are completely justified." The next morning, when the alien representatives arrived for what they expected to be humanity's surrender, they found something that shook them to their core. The humans were ready for war, but not the kind of war that any galactic species would expect. Choi Min-ho had turned the colony's mining equipment into orbital weapons that could punch holes through starship hulls. Song Hye-ri had networked the planet's crystal formations into a defensive grid that could disable electronics across the entire system. Shin Yoon-ju had modified human aircraft using alien technology to create fighters that moved in ways no alien pilot could predict. Most disturbing of all, the humans had done it in 3 days. "Impossible," Zintar whispered, staring at the tactical displays showing New Busan's new defenses. "You cannot have developed these systems so quickly," Flux Prime protested. Gromax's military training told him he was looking at weapons that could threaten his entire fleet. His experience told him such weapons should have taken years to develop. His logic told him what he was seeing was impossible. Kim Tae-min stepped forward, his voice calm but carrying the authority of someone who had helped build a world. "You came here to judge whether humanity is too dangerous to be allowed freedom," he said. "You wanted to know if we would disrupt your careful, stable, predictable galaxy." He gestured toward the displays showing New Busan's improvised but deadly defenses. "Now you know." The silence that followed Kim Tae-min's words stretched across the field like a living thing. The alien representatives stared at the tactical displays showing New Busan's impossible defenses. In the sky above, 42 warships waited for orders that their commanders were no longer sure they wanted to give. War Chief Gromax was the first to find his voice. "You threaten the entire galactic fleet with weapons built from mining equipment?" "We don't threaten anyone," Colony leader Tae-min replied calmly. "We simply demonstrated that you were right to be afraid of us. The question now is, what do we do about it?" Hive Speaker Zintar's forearms moved in patterns of deep confusion. "Your species has violated every principle of logical development. You cannot create such sophisticated systems in only 3 days. "Watch us," said Engineer Choi Min-ho, stepping forward. He carried a tablet showing real-time images from around the colony. "We've also improved your atmospheric processor design, fixed the energy fluctuations in your ship's power systems, and figured out how to make your communication devices work 20% more efficiently." Flux Prime's energy form flickered through several colors before settling on a deep purple that indicated profound disturbance. "This is precisely what we feared. You do not just solve problems, you solve them in ways that render our understanding obsolete." Dr. Song Hye-ri joined the conversation, her voice gentle but confident. "You've spent thousands of years building a stable civilization, based on predictable rules and logical progress. That's not wrong, it's just incomplete." "Incomplete?" Zintar asked. "You've created a galaxy where every species knows its place and follows established patterns," Dr. Han Soo-bin explained. "But what happens when you face a problem that can't be solved by following the rules? What happens when logic isn't enough?" Ambassador Yoon Ji-woo stepped forward, her diplomatic training evident in her calm demeanor. "We propose a different solution to the problem we represent." "Speak," Gromax commanded, though his massive form remained tense with suspicion. "You fear that humans will spread chaos across the galaxy," Yoon Ji-woo continued. "But what if that chaos is exactly what the galaxy needs?" The alien representatives exchanged glances that their translation devices couldn't interpret. The concept was almost too radical for their minds to process. "Consider your own history," said strategic advisor Kang Min-jung, who had been quietly analyzing galactic data during the negotiations. "Your civilization has been stable for 14,000 years. That's impressive, but it's also stagnant." "Stagnant," Flux Prime protested. "We have achieved perfect order, optimal resource distribution, and universal peace. And in 14,000 years, how many breakthrough innovations have you developed?" asked Dr. Lim Hae-won, the xenopsychologist. How many impossible problems have you solved? How many times has your civilization grown beyond what it thought was possible? The aliens fell silent because they all knew the answer. Almost never. We don't want to conquer your galaxy or destroy your civilization, Taemin said. We want to help it grow again. Cultural specialist Im Dong-hyun activated a holographic display showing his analysis of galactic development patterns. Every major advancement in your history came during periods of instability and change. When different species challenged each other's assumptions, when established rules were questioned and new ideas were tried. The periods you call chaos weren't disasters, added Representative Ryu Ji-sung. They were growing pains. Yes, some civilizations fell, but others rose to replace them with better systems. The galaxy evolved. Gromax's claws extended slightly, a sign of agitation. Evolution requires death and destruction. We have moved beyond such primitive necessities. Have you? Park So-jin asked quietly. Or have you just stopped growing? The question hung in the air like a challenge to everything the galactic civilization believed about itself. What do you propose? Zintar asked finally. Partnership, said Yoon Ji-woo. Not as conquerors or subjects, but as problem solvers. She activated another display, this one showing a proposal that the humans had been developing during the tense negotiations. Establish the human problem-solving core, she explained. When your species encounter challenges that conventional thinking cannot solve, call us. When you face impossible problems or need breakthrough innovations, let humans work on them. In exchange, added Taemin, humanity gains protected status to develop as we choose. We establish colonies where we're needed. We're free to grow and explore, but we work within the galactic community, not against it. You want to be the galaxy's chaos consultants? Flux Prime asked, its energy form brightening with what might have been amusement. We want to be what we've always been, replied Dr. Song Hyeri. Humans, problem solvers, survivors who refuse to accept that anything is impossible. Gromax studied the proposal for several minutes, his military mind analyzing the strategic implications. This would fundamentally change galactic civilization. Yes, Taemin agreed. Is that necessarily bad? The alien representatives requested time to consult with their governments. For 3 days, subspace communications flowed between New Busan and the centers of galactic power. Emergency sessions of the Concordat debated humanity's proposal. Military leaders analyzed the strategic implications. Scientists studied the potential benefits and risks. During those 3 days, the humans continued their normal lives with one significant addition. They began solving problems for the aliens who were still orbiting their world. Engineer Minho fixed a propulsion system failure on a Korthak destroyer that had been malfunctioning for months. Song Hyeri helped Velthian botanists understand a crop disease that was threatening food supplies on 12 worlds. Even young Kim Nari, the child who had repaired the atmospheric processor, worked with alien technicians to improve their sensor systems. Each success made the aliens more nervous and more convinced that humanity's proposal might be their only viable option. The breakthrough came when communications expert Lee Sang-min cracked a mathematical puzzle that had stumped Nexari, consciousness experts for centuries. The solution required combining logical analysis with intuitive leaps in ways that no Nexari could achieve alone. Your approach violates our fundamental understanding of problem-solving methodology, Flux Prime admitted. Yet it works. Different approaches work for different problems, Sang-min replied. That's why diversity is valuable. On the 6th day, the alien fleets received their orders. Instead of attacking or withdrawing, they began reconfiguring into defensive formations around New Busan. The Galactic Concordat has accepted your proposal, Zintar announced formally. Humanity will be granted protected development status in exchange for providing problem-solving assistance to member species. There will be conditions, Gromax added. Human colonies will be established only in designated systems. Human problem-solving activities will be monitored and evaluated. Any sign that human influence is causing harmful instability will result in immediate review. Acceptable, Yoon Ji-woo agreed. But the monitoring works both ways. We want to understand galactic civilization as much as you want to understand us. 6 months later, Captain Park So-jin commanded the first human diplomatic vessel to visit the Galactic Concordat headquarters. The ship itself was a demonstration of human problem-solving, a fusion of Earth technology, alien innovations, and New Busan's crystal-based energy systems. Representative Ryu Ji-sung presented humanity's formal application for membership in the galactic community. The document included detailed proposals for human colonies, research partnerships, and problem-solving protocols. But the real proof of humanity's value came from the results of their work. The Nexari terraforming crisis that had threatened 17 worlds was solved by human engineers, who approached the problem from an entirely new angle. The Vielthian trade dispute that had deadlocked for decades was resolved by human mediators who understood emotional as well as logical motivations. Most importantly, other species began adopting human approaches to their own challenges. The rigid patterns of galactic development started to soften, as different species learned to value intuition alongside logic, emotional bonds alongside rational cooperation. On New Busan, elder statesman John Woo-jin sat in the same observation deck where Kim Tae-min had watched the purple sunrise months earlier. At 93 years old, John was one of the last survivors of the original colonists who had fled Earth's crowded cities for the freedom of an alien world. Through the transparent walls, he could see construction crews building the new Galactic Relations Center. Human and alien technicians worked side by side, sharing techniques and learning from each other. In the distance, transport ships arrived daily, bringing human settlers to new colonies and alien visitors to New Busan. "Your grandfather would be proud," Dr. Song Hye-ri said, joining the old man on the observation deck. "Daeho always said we weren't visitors here," John replied. "He said this was our home and we had to make it work." "Now the whole galaxy is our home," Hye-ri observed. John smiled, his weathered face creasing with satisfaction. "And we're still making it work above them." The purple sky of Kepler 442c stretched toward stars that no longer seemed impossibly distant. Human ships traveled between those stars now, carrying problem solvers and innovators to worlds that needed both.